All right, Friday morning. Any questions before we get going? All right. We've had a video bits on this now and a lab assignment involving it, so I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that's answered. If there's any confusion about it, I'll invite you to post a follow-up. Just got to slow walk some of these things. All right, today, assignments. Assignment 14. It's a tarball here. What you're given is a structure, and you have to convert it, a structure and some functions, and you have to convert it to a class. So let me review that process. You download the tarball. You move that tarball somewhere where you want to extract it. Let me just very quickly see what's going to be inside it. It's going to create an A14 directory, it looks like. So let me tar extract from the tarball. There we go. And there it is. So let me go into the A14 directory. It's already divided into separate files. You have, well, let's look at date.h to start with. It's even got the header guards there already. All right, so there's a C-style structure, and there are three functions that operate on objects that you create, date objects that you create. And we'll look at each of these functions, but they're fairly self-explanatory, which is there's a function called set. You pass it a date that you've already created, and a month, day, and year. What it will do is assign that month, day, and year to the date that you pass in. Display will take a date and print out the date. And then there is a get month name, which will give you the name of the month based on the month inside this date object. So let's look at what each of those look like. So to get, let me see, how should I do this? Let me split the screen this way. And let's look at this test date code. All right, so this test date code has a main function. And here is where we create a date, and again, that is going to be defined in date.h. So on the bottom pane, when I say date ind, all I'm doing is I'm creating a variable that has a month, day, and year. So I can access it if I wanted to right here. I could say ind.month equals 12 or something like that. But what I'm doing is passing ind into this function, and I'm passing in three numbers. So let's look at the definition of that function. It's right here. Here are the dates coming in, the three numbers come in, and then it basically, in this case, this is being passed in by reference, which simply means that this variable, which is called self, is nothing more than an alias for or another name for an existing variable. In this case, it would be, if we look at line 9 and the pane below, it is ind that is the first argument to this being passed in. So coming up to the upper pane, self is nothing more than an alias for or another name for or refers to, that's why it's called a reference, ind. So anything that you do to self, you're actually doing to ind. That's the whole significance of references. So we're changing ind's month to mn, which should be the 7, the day to 4, and so on and so forth. All right. Then looking at the bottom pane, there's that call to the display function. Once again, ind is being passed in. And what we're doing is we're printing out IND's month, day, and year, separating by slashes. No big mystery there. And then the final one is on the bottom pane, line 11, says IND's month is, and then it calls the get month name function, passing an IND. So what it does is it does a switch statement on IND's month, and it's going to return one of these strings back, which then, of course, is in the middle of that cout statement. We can try running it. We quit. We zoom in here. All of the CPP files go on one line. Run it. And there it is. We had set it. We called the display function, and then we had that cout statement where we're calling get month name. Okay. So, yes? That variable is line 8. It's a date, and if you ask me what a date is, then I come up here and I look at date.h, and a date is a structure that contains 3 integers. Line 8, that's like if I say float FL, right? That's the kind of thing it is in the name of the variable. So IND I just made up the same way I made FL up. So what's the process for turning this into a class? This, you start, I suppose you could start here. With a class, we have the bundling together in the same capsule, to borrow that terminology from last time, the data with the operations that manipulate that data. So I will take lines 11 through 13. I will move them to line 5. Public, private, and then I'll make things look pretty by typing gg equals g, gg equals g, there we go. Once I do that, these all go away. Note that all 3 of these functions take a date. We no longer do that. So for the set function, that's all that I do to set a date. Now this is very much like what happened when we had our 2 web counters up here on stage, which was I didn't have to tell them anything about, when I said hit, which means they had to increment a counter, I didn't have to provide the counter. They had that as data, right? So same idea here. I just say set, give it 3 numbers, and then that data will know what to do with it. How that looks when I convert it, let me go ahead and bring up this other pane. So the work we've been doing is on line 7 right here. And then down here, this changes, meaning that I no longer pass IND as an argument to the function. I call the function using IND. Actually, let me preserve the old version. Let me comment that out. This is old struct version. And then this will be new class version. Then the final thing you have to do are the adjustments to date.cpp. This is no longer there. But this function won't compile because this isn't here either. It doesn't know what a month, day, or year is. Where is the month, day, and year? It's part of the date class, so I have to tell the compiler that this function is actually a member. I would call it a member function, to use C++ terminology of the date class. Yes? Oh, yeah, okay, so then I would also go to date.h, and I would change this word struct class. Is that what you're referring to? Yeah. So that's what you need to do. You have to do it to all three functions, make the adjustments to the main program here so that it uses IND as if it were a class object, and then just turn it in. And of course, with, sit in class assignment, get together with folks and hack it out. Okay, anything else? Then can I go over typecasting? I'll give you 60 seconds on it, and then if you want to follow up, let me know. I hesitate a little bit because it's a topic you don't normally see in 111, and it's easy to abuse. But it goes something along the lines of, if I have an integer x and a float fl equals 3.14, and then I try to assign fl to x, I should have problems compiling if I do that. Let's see, let me get out of this. So this is types.cpp. Oh, it worked. Let me see, I have to come up with a different version. I think it's a short. How about a char? There we go. No. That ought to do the trick. That works. Oh man, so what does it look like? No, I don't have any output statements. I'm surprised that that's working. If I did it in... yeah, for me to talk about this properly, I have to deal with pointers. I'm gonna table the. I was looking for an easy way, and this compiler isn't giving me the warnings I want to see. So I'm gonna finesse this and not talk about it because it mostly involves pointers. But if you want more information offline, just let me know, and I'll give it to you offline. So go ahead and have at it.